Welcome back to Jay Smokehouse and the History of Shrooms series, Psilocybin in Ancient History, Part 2. Much like the ancient Americans, the ancient Egyptians had many forms of artwork depicting mushrooms. They also had vernacular terms describing psychedelic fungi, just like the ancient Americans. Now, the two translated terms that I've seen are sons of the gods or food of the gods. And now here is a reoccurring theme I'm seeing throughout all these cultures, that since these mushrooms do not come from seeds, that is why they believed it came from the gods, because it didn't come from a seed, so it must have been given to them. Now again, much like the ancient Americans who believed that their god, Quetzalcoatl, is the one who gave them their psychedelic mushrooms, and the Egyptians believed that their god, Osiris, is the one who placed psychedelic mushrooms here on Earth. Now, because they believed that the mushrooms were placed here by a god or Osiris, access to psychedelic mushrooms was limited to two groups of people, the priesthood and also nobles. The priesthood because they were the direct link to their religion or their gods, and then also the nobles were supposed to have been descended directly by the gods. So they were the only two groups that were allowed to use psychedelic mushrooms, apparently. Now, there is also a theory with the ancient Egyptians and psychedelic mushrooms that comes from an Egyptologist named Stephen Berlant. His theory was that the ancient Egyptians actually cultivated psychedelic mushrooms on barley grain. Now, moving on to ancient Greece. In ancient Greece, there were many groups or cults that worshiped the goddess Demeter. So Demeter was supposed to have been the daughter of Cronos and Rhea. That would mean that she was a sister of Zeus, and apparently she was also a consort to Zeus. She was actually the goddess of agriculture in Greek mythology. Now, the ceremonies that these groups held were very secretive, and they were actually called the Eleusinian Mysteries. Now, these were so secretive that apparently if anyone tried to divulge any information to anyone outside of the Eleusinian Mysteries, they would have been put to death. Now, the ritual ceremonies that these groups or cults would actually engage in involved the use of a psychoactive stew. Now, many believe that this stew consisted of ergot fungus, which is where you get LSD, also Psilocybe mushrooms, and Amanita muscaria mushrooms. Now, if this is true and they used all that, you can see this would have made an intense experience. And just imagine how their minds opened up. You can kind of see how Greece had so many philosophers, people who were thinking outside the box. However, it became very exclusive, especially with this rule of not being able to speak to anyone outside the circle on penalty of death. And so it was really reserved for the upper class and scholars. Now, apparently it's believed that Plato, Homer, and Aristotle were all members of this society. Now, that's pretty cool, and it kind of makes sense when you think how outside the box they were thinking. Now, I've seen a lot of people referencing Rome and its history with psilocybin. However, I haven't seen a whole lot. Now, there are some articles, however, they wanted me to subscribe and pay, and I'm not willing to do that just yet. And so, because of this, I will probably be doing an extended History of Shrooms series, just like my extended History of Cannabis series, just so I can capture all the things that I have missed and maybe delve into them much more. Now, that will do it for now with ancient history of shrooms. I will be moving into post-Roman history of psilocybin in next episode, so I hope that you follow along on my journey. If you enjoyed this video or you learned anything at all, please leave a like and a comment and let me know what you think. And also, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell button if you want to stay up to date with videos coming out in the future. And now, as always, Jay is going to go smoke a J.